What's up guys, it's Jordan here from SwitchWatch with today's review of Astral Chain on the Nintendo Switch. It's finally here. We've been waiting a long time to see what Platinum Games had up their sleeve next for Nintendo fans. Star Fox Zero was a rare misstep for the studio back in 2016, but that always felt like they were lumbered with the project rather than it being their baby. The last time we really saw them anywhere with a proper full game was in early 2017 with Nier Automata, and for a studio usually so prolific, the wait for the next game has been so long, but oh so well worth it because Astral Chain is bloody fantastic. The story for Astral Chain, while not exactly at the forefront of the experience, is a pulpy sci-fi romp where a special police task force called Neuron combat the forces of interdimensional evil called the Chimera, who are trying to wipe out the last humans who reside in a megacity type place. You can choose between a male or female protagonist, but no matter which you choose, both will be in the game as twins. The catch being that the one you choose becomes the silent protagonist, while the NPC twin will have all the dialogue and personality. I'm personally never a fan of silent protagonists because it always takes away from the story, and that's still the case here. I think they could have balanced the dialogue between the twins well enough no matter who you chose, but it is what it is. Thankfully, the setting and additional characters really set up a great premise that, even though your character isn't really integrated into it, is still fun to experience. The world building is excellent, which is for me the most important part of a sci-fi infused game. The plot has twists and turns, shocking moments, and characters you're not entirely sure of their motives, so I was thoroughly interested in what they had to offer, even if the silent protagonist took me out of it a little bit. The gameplay Astral Chain is a Platinum game which immediately comes with many connotations and expectations. The company renowned for some of the best all-out action titles ever created with the likes of Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising, Vanquish and so on. People expect a lot, and they are not going to be disappointed here either. The combat is built upon the titular chain mechanic. Your character is tethered to a legion who is semi-autonomous. They auto-attack by themselves when summoned, but their movement can be controlled by holding down the ZL button and moving with the right analog stick. It's a little awkward since you have to sacrifice your own mobility when you move them, but you soon get used to it. The chain between you and your legion is vital to the experience and plays a massive part in your abilities. You can send your legion flying towards your enemy and then tap a button to let your legion fling you into the action too, or perhaps away from danger. You can wrap your chain around enemies to subdue them for a short amount of time while you wail on them. You can chain cheap shots on multiple enemies by tagging them with your chain and then flinging yourself past them all, hitting them with a cheeky attack. You can even commence aerial combat against flying enemies if your legion flings you over there too. Not only that, but of the handful of different legions available in the game, they each have their own specialities. For example, your starting sword user can cut tethers that connect enemies together, something I forgot about, much to my confusion about how to defeat some enemies that popped up once in a while. You have the archer who can shoot arrows as you'd expect, the strong one which can lift things in the environment and lob at foes to deal massive damage, and so on. Combine that with your different weapon types like your blaster and baton, and you've got yourself a very nice action game with a lot of options. I wouldn't say it's hugely in depth. All the awesome stuff that happens is mostly down to quick time events rather than you remembering special combos, but it's just cool and highly accessible. 95% of the time, battling foes, even the menial ones, feels fantastic. The only time it doesn't is when battle arenas can be a little bit too small, or maybe fighting flying enemies and you're wrangling with the camera more than anything else, but those moments were few and far between. The bosses are the stars of the show for me, but it's a Platinum game, so what do you expect? I'm not going to show many here due to spoilers, as they really are what most people often come to see with their games, but I'm confident to say that you won't be disappointed. While you're not battling the forces of evil, you'll be wandering around endangered city environments or venturing into the astral plane yourself, which will require use of your legions in order to progress. As with the combat, you can use the legions to traverse the environments, flinging you across gaps or perhaps opening doors with their various abilities. These sections are mostly linear stages but have plenty of nooks and crannies for you to find secrets in, whether it be finding the customary toilet in each level or a stray cat, or more likely a chest or two with items. While the action is of prime focus, as you'd expect, Platinum Games have gone for something a little bit more ambitious this time around during your downtime. At the beginning, or sometimes in the middle of the chapters, you'll be tasked with conducting investigations in order to find leads as to what is going on in a particular area. You'll have to talk with bystanders or perhaps help them out with something to gain clues which you are later quizzed on for bonus points. While it's not the greatest setup, I feel it gives the production and scope of the game much more than other Platinum games before it, which while utterly fantastic did often give me bouts of fatigue. That's not the case here. Despite a slightly slow start, the pacing in Astral Chain is wonderful and far more balanced. Maybe some people will like it, while others will think that it's tacked on or gets in the way of the action gameplay, but I thoroughly appreciate it. It's not open world or anything, though, and each investigation area is quite small, so don't go in with massive expectations. There is lots to this game. You can just focus on the core action without delving much into the customization or side quests or upgrading stuff, which I'm sure a good many people will appreciate. You can either do everything and enjoy it, or do the bare minimum and enjoy it. I enjoyed wandering around, taking photos of everyone, talking to people in the hub-like precinct, changing my clothes, but of course, if you just want a breezy 10-hour action game without the fluff, Astral Chain is still excellent. The soundtrack to Astral Chain is composed by Satoshi Igarashi, who's worked with Platinum Games on many of their soundtracks, although seemingly in a more supportive role rather than being the main dude, as far as I can tell anyways. This looks to be their big break, and they've done a fine job here. There's a huge mix of orchestrated tracks, some metal music, as well as some futuristic stuff too, depending on the mood, and it really works well. It's very eclectic. I can't say that I remember a whole lot of the music in regards to individual tracks, but I'm not going to hold it against the game due to the conditions under which I was playing the game. I had to play with the volume slightly lower than I normally do, unfortunately. As I'm sure you've heard, there is voice acting in the game, and the voices can either be English or Japanese, which can be selected from the main menu, not during the game oddly, but anyways, here's the thing. The Japanese voice acting is better. Usually I'm dismissive of people who blindly say that because they're usually wrong, but here the original voice acting works better than the English. It fits the slightly anime aesthetic, but isn't overbearing and is professionally and respectfully done. The English is hit and miss. Some characters are okay, others are not okay, and the ones that aren't okay, I got used to quickly enough. Because yes, I played in English. Not because I wanted to, but I felt it's necessary to, due to some exposition and instructions being blurted out while in the middle of combat. It's actually very difficult to follow when the characters are speaking Japanese. Reading the text boxes while trying to dodge enemy attacks wasn't fun, and so after the first chapter, I reluctantly changed to English, which, like I said, I did get used to and found it quite serviceable in the end. Let's have a quick comparison listen.
Oi! 大丈夫か? ヒヤヒヤさせやがって。
初めてにしちゃ上出来どころじゃないわね。隊長より全然うまく扱えてたんじゃない？
You two are to gather information, no heroics. Captain's orders. Is that clear?
But... Hey, come on now. Maybe the captain is a teensy bit overprotective, but you're new.
What do you think? Are you going to go with English or Japanese? Visually, the game is excellent, not necessarily in terms of visual fidelity or polygon count. In that regard, it's pretty low, but the style is phenomenal. The sci-fi aesthetics are spot on, mixed in with some dystopian themes, make it a very lived-in world. The cel-shaded look is wonderful too, giving it a comic book or anime feel, which is really what is needed for me these days. Performance-wise, it's very, very smooth, 30 frames per second, but I didn't notice that one little bit. There was some frame drops once in a while if the camera was pulled out a lot to show loads more enemies than it should, but these moments were few and far between and didn't hinder my experience at all. And for those who are worried about visual fidelity while in handheld mode, don't be. It looks and plays just as fantastically, if not maybe slightly better looking due to the more compact screen. I think if I was playing this for personal enjoyment rather than needing to capture footage for a review, I'd probably play this more in handheld mode if I'm being honest. You won't be surprised to hear that due to being a Nintendo published game made by one of the most revered studios in gaming, Astral Chain is coming in with a full fat price tag, $60 in the US and $50 on the UK eShop. Is it worth it? For a 10 to 15 hour action experience, some may question that, and they have every right to, but for me, if you're craving a new Bayonetta style game, excellent action and production values, look no further than Astral Chain. Yes, it is worth it. It's one of the best games of the genre available today. Those hardcore S-rank chasers may appreciate it slightly less than other Platinum games, but in terms of accessibility and awesomeness, you're not going to get much better value for your money than with Astral Chain. Of course, it's available in retail too, probably for a tad cheaper, so if you're in the UK and you want to buy it and you want to support the show, then consider using the link below to help us out with an affiliate purchase. I know many of our US viewers have asked us to get Amazon links for the American site, but when we've looked into that, it doesn't seem quite so easy for a UK-based team, so sorry we can't provide that. But buy the game anyways. Okay, before we get into my final thoughts on Astral Chain, please hit that subscribe button if you're new here and you found this useful or interesting. It's well worth it for the Switch content that we produce. Regular Switch watchers, you know what to do. Press that thumbs up and leave a comment telling us what you think of Astral Chain. Do you plan on picking it up? Let us know. Okay, overall, Astral Chain is a fantastic game. It's high-end action with satisfying combat, inventive gameplay, and more ambition than I think Platinum have gone for before. It's accessible too, so if you're put off by Bayonetta's slightly hardcore edge, this is the perfect remedy, as I'm sure anyone can pick it up and enjoy pulling off the moves and intricacies that it has. It's not the most in-depth as far as I can tell, but it's a damn good time, and the story was well implemented with nice twists, awesome cutscenes, and some heartfelt stuff in there too. Maybe the investigation side can be a little tacked on at times, but it serves as a nice break to the action. And perhaps they could have eased off the astral plane setting a little less, especially so early on. But nevertheless, I really hope this is a new franchise with a future. And if you want to see more of new adventurous endeavors from Nintendo and Platinum games, I hope you'll give this one a shot. It's a 9 out of 10. Don't forget to check out some of our other recent video outputs. We recently did a Hidden Gems video, but with a twist of that they all had free demos to try out for yourself. That's worth a look if you're looking to try something before you buy, without actually wasting your time. We'll see you guys over there, take care.